Okay, the next pattern we're going to talk about is the horizontal trend line break. This is also a trend changing pattern. But one of the unique things about a horizontal trend line is I also use it as a money management line. If I am in a trade long, I can draw a horizontal trend line to stay in the trade much longer. And I'll try to point this out as we talk about the horizontal trend line. The horizontal trend line, at least again, like every trend line, must have at least 2 touches. You also can use the turbo and the 14 CCI to draw your horizontal trend line. So here's some setups and some examples. Let's take a look at them. We had an uptrend, and you can see we had a nice uptrend here, and we formed a bunch of lows right here on the 14 CCI, and at least 3 touches. Now, a horizontal trend line, we could use breaking that horizontal trend line as the trigger, which would be in this area here. When it breaks through, you'd be trigger bar right when we break through this horizontal trend line. So this is what you look for, at least 2 touches in breaking that horizontal trend line. Could be a setup to go short. Lots of times this will also develop inside the 100s, and if you were in a trade long and wanted to stay in that trade longer, even if it crosses the plus 100, and you had a trend line, say at plus 50, a horizontal trend line with 3 or 4 touches, you could stay in that trade until it takes out that horizontal trend line. So a horizontal trend line does a couple things. One, it can get you into a trade that might be a trend changing pattern, or 2, you can use it as a money management trend. So that's a setup for a short. And you can see we had 3 touches here, A, B, and C, the 3 touches, which put you in, breaking here at this bar right here, push you into the short. And you can use these touches, can be on a turbo or they can be on the 14 CCI. In this case, we had 3 touches. Remember, on the horizontal trend line, the more touches you have, the stronger the trend line is. So if you had 5 here, even stronger. So this one had 3, and it picked out a nice trend changing pattern, and as you can see, we went down. So again, you try to draw it as horizontal as you can with touches on the CCI or the turbo CCI. This is what it would look like for a long. You had a nice downtrend showing here. You have 3 touches again. You draw a horizontal trend line. Breaking that horizontal trend line to the upside would put you long. And what you're doing again with a horizontal trend line is you're breaking a support or resistance. In this case, you're breaking some resistance. When you get in a trade, when it's below the minus 100 like this, what you would look for is to break that horizontal trend line and then immediately to break the minus 100. So you get those minor resistant areas out of your way, and that'll allow the trade to go, usually to get your target on your first one and at least give you a chance to move your stop to break even plus 1 if that's what you use. Or if you're an all in, all out, you might use it to get your all in, all out type of thing, depending on the stats that you do. So again, horizontal trend line, at least 2 touches, in this case 3 touches, showing strength, 4 touches, 5 touches, even stronger. Here's the trade. We broke through the horizontal trend line. We took a long here. You can see that we entered into the trade here, and it picked out that movement up, depending on how much and how far it goes, whether you were all in, all out, or you got to target number 1 and you took some off or whatever. But it busted right through that 100, got to the 100 on your trigger bar and then busted right through it. And that's what you want to look for on a horizontal trend line. You want that strength to the move. And a CCI, by the angle, shows you that. Here's what it looks like on a chart. If you look at it here, you see we had a horizontal trend line here. We had two touches, one here and one here. And the prices went up a little bit. And actually we got into trade, taking out that right in this area here, or this bar here, and everybody else in their standard technical analysis got out, taking out this swing low right here. And on these big bars, we're established into the trade 1 or 2 bars ahead of the rest of the world. And that's what a horizontal trend line will do for you. And as you can see, is a trend changing. We were looking for longs, took that out, and now we're looking for shorts. So a trend changing pattern, look at that nice move down. Horizontal trend line. The problem with horizontal trend lines is that, like the trend line break with the trend, people will not take them all. And so therefore, that's why I don't spend a lot of time on this pattern, even though it's a good pattern. People will not take them all. As I also mentioned to you, I use that horizontal trend line as a money management line. In other words, we had a nice uptrend. We come inside the 100 here, which normally be an exit maybe if we were in a trade from a pattern from before. You would exit. When you can draw a horizontal trend line somewhere inside that 100, you can use that as a money management line. And what happened was it come down right to it, bounced away from it, come down again and tested that horizontal trend line that you can now draw, because you even had a touch on the turbo there, and it bounced away, and you could be staying with your long to catch this further updraft. So using a horizontal trend line as a money manager line sometimes will help you stay into a trade much, much longer than you normally would stay. So again, trend changing pattern or a money management line, horizontal trend line. Got that whole downdraft. I also had found on horizontal trend lines, the longer the time frame that you use a horizontal trend line, the stronger the horizontal trend line is. In other words, if you use it on 10, 15, 30-minute charts, you'll find that breaking those horizontal trend lines seem to go much better than they do on a 1, 2, or 3, or 5-minute chart. So I like to use them at a minimum of 5-minute horizontal trend line break. Okay, let's look at some live examples here on a couple of charts. Here is a nice up move on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange CME stock, 30-minute chart. You'll notice that we have a number of touches on this. We have a touch here on the turbo. We have a touch here on the 14. We have a touch here on the 14. And we have another touch on the turbo here. And we had the turbo go through it and then come right back through it again. And we were able to draw a nice horizontal trend line. Now, if we were long, say, on a Vermeer pattern here and stayed with this trade and used this horizontal trend line as money management, we could have got this rest of this updraft here. Or if we don't use it that way and we use it just as a horizontal trend line to go short, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, approximately 5 touches and a 6th one breaking through. And again, look at the angle of it breaking through. So let's take a look at this trade live. Again, very strong trend line break. Lots of touches was what we want as traders. And we get into this trade short. Let's look at the angles. Look at the angle going almost perpendicular. Look at the angle crossing major support there at the 0 line. Look at that. Little attempt to try to come back. Look at that, way down into extremes. Is that nice or what? Are you saying thank you very much to the other people on the other side of your trade? Again, a beautiful, beautiful horizontal trend line. Now, also, you will notice there are some clues here. If you don't trade ghost patterns, and that ghost pattern isn't in your trading repertoire, maybe if you look at it and you draw a neckline here, you will see you had a ghost pattern on this horizontal trend line. So now you have a trend changing pattern, and you also have a horizontal trend line break to go short. So again, there were some clues there, wasn't there? You also had a zero line reject. That really wasn't a good zero line reject because it didn't have enough CCI points. So you had all kinds of clues telling you again that this was going to be a trade that had very high probabilities of working. If you don't trade ghosts, if you traded ghosts, you got in at the same time. If you traded horizontal trend line, you got in at the same bar. So with the ghost, the horizontal trend line with 5 or 6 touches, clues being a zero line reject didn't make it, everything there for you. And so that was a real nice trade, and I'll play that one more time for you. We're short 569.74, $569.74 to the short side. Let's just see what it goes. 569 and change. 569 and change. We're down now to 565. 556, 557, 557 and change. Where did we get in? Let me go back. Get it back. We got down to 557 and change. We got in at 569. That's 12 points approximately. Even if you traded a $569 stock with options at a 50 delta, you're looking at least a 12-point move. 50 delta means for every contract that you have an option on, you'd make approximately $6, $6.50. 10 contracts could be a nice $6,000 move. 5 contracts would be $3,000. So you can trade a $560 stock by using options. And with the CCI, it works very, very well. So that's the horizontal trend line. Let's see if we got one more here to show you. Yeah, here's another one. We have a nice up move. We have a touch here, a close touch here. We have another touch here. So we have at least 2 touches and one that was really close on the turbo. We got this about plus 30. And again, what was the clues? We had 2 zero line rejects that really didn't go. And these would be, both of these would have been zero line rejects that we would have taken, but we wouldn't have had made any money on them. And so that was a clue that possibly this horizontal trend line will work. And so again, look at the angle breaking that horizontal trend line, almost perpendicular. This is on Apple Computer on a 30-minute chart. Now let's take a look at this in real time. Zero line acting as major support. Look what happens when you break through major support. How's that for an angle? Right down to extremes. Just blew by all that support and minor support. Beautiful trade. Beautiful trade. No reason to get out of this trade yet. Why? Because it's staying below the minus 100. No reason to get out of that trade. Finally, people will get out crossing the 100 at 134.49, 134 and change. So let's take a look at it again. Clues. Red on the sidewinder. Zero line rejects that really haven't gone. Good angle breaking the neck, the trend line. Right down to extremes. Coming back, some normal profit taken, some more pushing down. See, we had good movement down. They couldn't push it down very much. Coming back through. And a nice exit around 134 and change. That's on Apple Computer, a 30-minute chart. Where did we get in? 144 and change. Where did we get out? And where do we get down to? 134 and change. That's 10 points you traded this stock, that's $1,000. If you traded it in contracts on options, it would be about $500. So it's a beautiful, beautiful move, beautiful trade, horizontal trend line. Let me just repeat here, people. As I said, a horizontal trend line can be used on anything. I find it even better on longer term frame charts. The problem I have with traders that I mentor and teach is that they will not take every one of them, and that's a problem. You'll also remember that the horizontal trend line can be used as a money management line, and that is really good to hold you into a nice uptrend or downtrend. So don't overlook horizontal trend line in your trading. You might want to take a look at it and do some stats for your trading plan. And that is the end of the horizontal trend line break. Again, take a look at it, use it as a money management, use it as an exit or an entry, and it will help you in your trading.